The story of the Mahabharata, one of India's most well-known epics, includes a segment in which King Yudhishthira succumbs to his gambling habits by agreeing to play a game of dice with his enemy, Duryodhana. Object by object, he gambles away everything. His crown, his jewels, and his palace. And just when he thinks that he has nothing left to lose, his beautiful wife, Draupadi, walks in. She catches Duryodhana's eye, and he has an idea. Let's gamble one more time, he says, for Draupadi. A good roll from Duryodhana. Yudhishthira agrees, picks up the dice. It's no good. He has lost everything. Duryodhana, in his glee, grabs Draupadi by the wrist and drags her into a courtroom filled with people. He orders her to take off her clothes. Draupadi refuses, and so Duryodhana takes matters into his own hands. Grabbing Draupadi once more, he pulls at her sari and continues to pull until she is being unraveled. Draupadi cries. She begs for help from the crowd. She begs for help from Duryodhana, and finally she has no choice but to pray. Krishna, observing this horrific scene unfolding in front of him, sends an unending length of fabric to Draupadi's sari. Draupadi continues to spin, humbled by Krishna. Duryodhana pulls until he can pull no more, and he falls to the ground, exhausted. Draupadi thanks Krishna for saving him. But the stories told in ancient epics are not just the fictions of the past. They are the realities of the present. Sexual violence in India was thrust into the spotlight in 2012, when a 23-year-old woman was brutally gang-raped and murdered in Delhi. And yet, unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. The number of reported cases of sexual violence in India is shockingly high. Reported cases, which only account for about 25% of all cases. Millions of women, like Draupadi, suffer objectification, oppression, and violence every day. The story of the rape of Draupadi is told through dance time and time again, in classrooms, on stages like this one, and in households. Dance is powerful. And a story in which, one, a man believes a woman is his object enough to gamble her away. Two, a courtroom filled with men does nothing but watch as. Three, another man attempts to exert his power over that woman through violence. Those stories told through dance influence mindsets. They shape values, and they permeate culture. Dance is powerful. So why can't we take that? The ability of dance to reach the corners of the world, to reach the corners of India, and turn it into something that empowers change. Let's go back to this story and tell the ending differently. As Duryodhana grabs Draupadi by the hand, throwing her into a courtroom filled with people, and he tells her to take her clothes off, and she refuses, those people do not just watch. They speak, and they act. Imagine retelling one of India's most powerful stories in a way that demonstrates humanity and respect for a woman. Humanity and respect that comes from people, not from a higher power. Dance is powerful. And people will listen. People will take heed. People will start a dialogue. Because dance is a language that supersedes all other languages. It puts an audience in a position where all they can do is watch. They cannot speak, they cannot scoff, they cannot argue, but they can see and they can feel. And empathy is, at the very least, a gateway to dialogue. Dance is powerful. But there's another problem inherent in the story of the Rape of Draupadi. That is, men are the ones making and acting on all of the decisions. A man is the one who decides to gamble Draupadi away. A male is the one who saves Draupadi, a male deity. Draupadi herself has no control and no agency, not over her own actions, and not even over her own body. When I tell this story as a dancer, I want to cry. Every time I want to cry. I feel weak. I can feel my agency, my control over my body being stripped away from me. I feel powerless. I feel hopeless, and I hate it. I hate feeling like an object to be saved or an object to be violated. It's proven that just as much as dance can engage and transform an audience, it can engage and transform a dancer. Now imagine if Draupadi could tell her own story. Imagine if I could tell my own story. Imagine if a dancer could tell her own story. She could speak things that she's never been able to speak before. She could make herself heard in ways that she has never been able to make herself heard before. And most importantly, she could reclaim control over her own body by standing on a stage and dancing in it. Dance is powerful. It's so clear. Dance affects you, the audience, and it affects me, the dancer. And that is a transformative notion. The key to true change, the type of change that enables an audience to leave this building and start a dialogue, the type of change that empowers a woman to take control over her own body, that type of change can be found right here on a stage. Namaste, and thank you very much for your time.